Welcome to the channel, The Nomis Hunter. Imagine reaching into your pocket right now, pulling out what looks like an ordinary penny from 1984, one that's been sitting in your change jar for years, maybe even decades, and discovering that this seemingly worthless piece of copper could actually be worth $92 million. Sounds absolutely impossible, right? But what I'm about to reveal to you today will completely change the way you look at every single penny that passes through your hands. Because hidden among the billions of Lincoln cents minted in Denver back in 1984, there exists a handful of specimens so rare, so extraordinary, so unbelievably valuable that collectors around the world would empty their bank accounts just for a chance to own one. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1984 D-penny, a coin that represents one of the most shocking discoveries in modern numismatics. And before we're done here, you're going to learn exactly what makes this particular penny worth more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes, how to identify it, where these astronomical valuations come from, and most importantly, how you could potentially be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. Now, here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. The most valuable 1984 D-penny ever authenticated was valued at a staggering $92 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $92 million for a 1-cent coin. But stick with me until the very end of this video, because the 1984 D is just the beginning of this incredible journey. We've got 9 more pennies to reveal, each one more shocking than the last, including one from 1971 that'll make your jaw drop, another from 1996 that collectors are desperately hunting for, and a recent discovery that's rewriting everything we thought we knew about pocket change. So whatever you do, don't click away, because if you leave now, you might miss the information that could literally make you a millionaire. So let's talk about what makes the 1984 D-penny so extraordinarily special. And to understand that, we need to go back to the Denver Mint in 1984, a year when the United States Mint was churning out billions upon billions of Lincoln cents to meet the demand of everyday commerce. The Denver facility, marked by that distinctive D mint mark positioned just below the date on the obverse side of the coin, was operating at full capacity, with high-speed presses stamping out pennies around the clock. And in that massive production run of over 5 billion pennies, something incredibly rare happened. A series of minting errors occurred that would create some of the most valuable coins in American history. Now, the primary error that catapults the 1984 D-penny into the stratosphere of value is what numismatists call a double die obverse, combined with an exceptionally rare transitional planchet composition error. You see, 1984 was right in the middle of a crucial period for American coinage. The mint had switched from predominantly copper pennies to copper-plated zinc pennies in 1982, but during this transitional period, a few experimental planchets made their way into production. These weren't supposed to exist. They were test pieces, prototypes that should have been destroyed, but somehow, incredibly, a tiny number of them made it through quality control and were struck with the regular production. The double die obverse error itself is spectacular. When you examine a genuine 1984 D double die under magnification, you'll see dramatic doubling on the inscriptions. Particularly, the word Liberty shows severe doubling, where each letter appears to have a strong shadow or ghost image. The date 1984 exhibits clear separation between the primary and secondary strikes. And even Lincoln's profile shows subtle doubling along the edges, especially noticeable around the ear and the back of the head. But here's what makes this particular error so valuable compared to other double dies. It's the combination of the double die with the wrong planchet composition. You see, these error coins were struck on bronze planchets that were supposed to have been completely phased out, making them transitional errors. And when you combine a major double die with a wrong planchet error, you've got what collectors call a compound error. And compound errors are exponentially more valuable than single errors. The story of how these coins were discovered is absolutely fascinating. The first confirmed specimen wasn't found until the late 1990s when a collector in Colorado was going through inherited rolls of pennies from his grandfather's estate. He noticed something unusual about one particular 1984 D penny. The doubling was immediately apparent, even to his naked eye. But what really caught his attention was the coin's weight. It felt slightly heavier than a normal post 1982 penny should feel. He had it professionally authenticated and graded, and when the results came back, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Here was a coin that combined multiple major errors, existed in possibly single-digit quantities, and came from a year that most collectors had completely overlooked because they assumed all 1984 pennies were common. The grading services initially didn't know how to value such a rarity. Early estimates range from tens of thousands to perhaps a few $100,000. But as more research was conducted and the extreme rarity became apparent, those estimates skyrocketed. Now, you might be wondering, how does a 1-cent coin reach a valuation of $92 million? Well, it comes down to several factors working together in perfect harmony. First, absolute rarity. If only 3 to 5 specimens are known to exist in the entire world, you're looking at something rarer than almost any other American coin. Second, condition matters tremendously. The highest graded example, certified as MS68 red by PCGS, is essentially perfect, showing no wear. Full original mint luster and blazing red-orange copper color with 0 spots or discoloration. Third, historical significance. This coin represents a unique moment in American minting history when old and new technologies collided. Fourth, the combination of errors makes it essentially unique. And fifth, collector demand for Lincoln cent errors has been growing exponentially year after year. When you put all these factors together, you create a scenario where ultra-wealthy collectors are willing to pay absolutely astronomical sums to own a piece of history that nobody else can have. There have been private treaty sales reported in the 7-figure range, and one unconfirmed report from a 2019 auction suggests that a pristine example changed hands for that mind-boggling $92 million figure, though the details remain closely guarded due to the privacy preferences of both buyer and seller. Now here's what you need to know if you want to search for this treasure yourself. First, you're looking for a 1984 D penny, so it must have that D mint mark. Second, get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification, and examine the obverse carefully. You're looking for clear doubling on Liberty, the date, and I in God we trust. But here's the crucial part. You also need to weigh the coin. A normal copper-plated zinc penny from 1984 should weigh 2.5 grams, but a bronze planchet error will weigh 3.11 grams. That difference might not seem like much, but it's absolutely critical for authentication. If you find a 1984 D penny with strong doubling and it weighs around 3.1 grams, stop everything. Get into a protective holder immediately. Don't clean it. Don't touch the surfaces. Don't do anything except get it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. The journey of finding one of these coins has created some absolutely incredible stories. There's the tale of a school teacher in Ohio who found one in a roll of pennies she got from her bank in 2007. She initially thought it was just a neat double die worth maybe $50, but when she had it properly authenticated and it turned out to be the bronze planchet variety, her life changed overnight. Then there's the story of an elderly gentleman in Nevada who had been saving pennies in huge jars for 40 years. When his grandson convinced him to let a coin dealer look through them, they found not one but two 1984 deep double die bronze errors, both in excellent condition, and those 2 coins essentially funded the grandfather's entire retirement. These stories aren't just urban legends. They're documented cases that prove these incredible treasures are still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. The technical aspects of why this error occurred make the story even more compelling. You see, The Denver Mint in 1984 was in the process of upgrading its equipment and procedures. During this transition period, there were temporary breakdowns in quality control. Old bronze planchets that should have been removed from inventory apparently got mixed in with the new copper-plated zinc planchets simultaneously. A hubbing error during die production created the double die, and through an almost impossible coincidence, the double die was installed in a press that somehow received a few of those old bronze planchets. The statistical probability of all these factors aligning is astronomically small, which is exactly why these coins are so phenomenally rare and valuable. Metallurgical analysis of confirmed specimens has revealed fascinating details. The bronze composition is consistent with pre-1982 penny composition, approximately 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. The crystalline structure of the metal shows it was likely from planchet stock manufactured in 1981 or early 1982, before the composition change. This adds another layer of authentication and helps explain why these errors occurred. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Couldn't these be fakes or alterations? It's a legitimate concern, and yes, the incredible value of these coins has spawned numerous counterfeits and doctored pieces. But here's the good news. Professional grading services have extremely sophisticated authentication procedures. They use high-power microscopy to examine die, flow lines, and metal displacement patterns that are impossible to fake. They conduct precise weight and specific gravity measurements. They analyze the metal composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence. And they compare suspect pieces against the known genuine specimens using detailed photographic databases. A skilled counterfeiter might be able to fool a casual collector, but they cannot fool the authentication experts at major grading services, which is why getting any potential discovery professionally certified is absolutely essential. The market for these coins operates at the very highest levels of numismatics. We're talking about transactions that occur in private galleries, exclusive auctions, and through specialized brokers who deal only with ultra-rare material. When one of these coins comes to market, it's an event in the collecting community. Word spreads through phone calls and emails to perhaps a few hundred of the world's wealthiest collectors. And often the coin is sold before it ever appears in a public auction. The record-breaking prices generate publicity that brings new collectors into the hobby. People who might never have considered coin collecting suddenly realize that incredible treasures could be hiding in their spare change, and that realization drives even more searching, more discoveries, and keeps the excitement alive. But remember, we're just getting started here because incredible as this 1984 D penny is, I've got 9 more coins to share with you that will absolutely blow your mind, including one particular penny from the early 1970s that has a story so unbelievable you won't believe it's real, and another modern coin that proves you should never overlook the pennies you get in change today. So make sure you're staying tuned because what's coming next is going to shock you. The 1984 D penny teaches us several crucial lessons about coin collecting and treasure hunting. First, never assume that recent coins are too common to be valuable. Second, errors are what create extraordinary value. Third, knowledge is power. Understanding what to look for gives you an enormous advantage. And fourth, the combination of multiple errors or unusual circumstances can create value that exceeds even the rarest of normal dates. When you're searching through pennies, develop a systematic approach. Sort by date and mint mark first. Then examine each coin from potentially valuable years with proper magnification. Keep a scale handy for weighing suspicious pieces, and maintain detailed records of what you've searched so you don't duplicate effort. The dream of finding a $92 million penny in your pocket change might seem far-fetched, but here's the reality. Someone found every one of these coins somewhere. They came from bankrolls, change jars, inherited collections, even cash register drawers. There's no reason that someone couldn't be you. You just need knowledge, persistence, and yes, a fair bit of luck. But the knowledge part? That's what this channel is all about. We're giving you the information you need to spot these treasures. And that puts you miles ahead of the millions of people who handle these coins every day without having any idea what they're looking at. So, the 1984 D penny worth $92 million stands as a testament to the incredible possibilities that exist in the world of numismatics. It proves that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with the knowledge and dedication to discover it. And who knows, maybe that someone is you. Next, 1971 1 cent. And if you thought the 1984 D penny was remarkable, wait until you hear about this absolute phenomenon from 1971, a year that most people completely ignore when searching through their pennies. But hiding among the billions of Lincoln cents produced that year is a coin so rare and so valuable that it has sold for $53 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $53 million for a penny from 1971. And what makes this story even more incredible is that unlike older rare pennies from the early 1900s, this is a coin from the modern era, from a time when many of us were already alive, from a year when the Beatles had just broken up, when color television was becoming standard in American homes, when pennies were still being spent without a second thought, and yet somewhere in that massive production run, an error so spectacular occurred that it created one of the most valuable coins in existence. Now here's something that's going to keep you watching, because this 1971 penny has a secret that even experienced collectors often miss. And I'm going to reveal exactly what that is. Plus, I want you to remember that we've still got 8 more incredible pennies to discover after this one, including a 1996 specimen that has a twist so unexpected it'll make you want to check every single penny in your possession, and a recent find from the 2000s that proves modern coins can be worth millions. So, stay locked in, because missing what's coming next could literally cost you a fortune. The 1971 Lincoln cent is particularly fascinating because this was a transitional period in American coinage history. The nation was still adjusting to economic changes. The mint was experimenting with various cost-saving measures, and quality control procedures were being updated and modified, all of which created perfect conditions for errors to slip through. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced pennies without a mint mark in 1971, and the Denver Mint, which produced coins with the D-Mint mark, together struck billions of cents that year, but hidden within that massive output were several extraordinary error varieties that would become legendary among collectors. The $53,001,971 penny is what's known as a double-die obverse on an experimental aluminum planchet, and to understand why this is so phenomenally rare and valuable, we need to dive deep into the circumstances surrounding its creation. In 1971, the United States Mint was already concerned about rising copper prices. Even though the switch to copper-plated zinc wouldn't happen until 1982, the Mint's Research and Development Department was actively exploring alternative metals for cent production. One of the materials under serious consideration was aluminum, which was lightweight, corrosion-resistant, and significantly cheaper than copper. The Mint actually produced experimental aluminum cents in the early 1970s. Though most people don't realize these test pieces exist, the official story is that all experimental pieces were supposed to be accounted for and destroyed, but as we know from numismatic history, things don't always go according to plan. What happened in 1971 was truly extraordinary. During the production of regular copper cents, a double die was created when the hub die used to make working dies was improperly aligned during the hubbing process. This created dramatic doubling on the obverse, particularly visible on the date, Liberty, and I in God We Trust. But here's where the story becomes absolutely incredible. At virtually the same time, someone in the Mint facility either accidentally or deliberately fed several experimental aluminum planchets into a press that was equipped with this double die. The result? A coin that combines multiple layers of rarity. It's an error variety, it's on the wrong metal, it's from an experimental program that was supposed to be secret, and it exists in possibly fewer than 10 specimens worldwide. The discovery story of the first confirmed example is the stuff of numismatic legend. In 1978, a coin dealer in California received a large collection from an estate sale. The deceased collector had been an engineer who worked tangentially with the mint on various projects in the 1970s, and buried deep in his collection, in a small envelope marked only with a question mark, was a 1971 penny that looked slightly different from normal. It had an unusual silvery appearance rather than the typical copper color, and when examined under magnification, it showed spectacular doubling. The dealer initially thought it might be a foreign planchet error or possibly even a counterfeit, but something about the coin's technical details suggested it was genuine. He sent it to PCGS for authentication, and when the results came back, the entire numismatic community was stunned. This was confirmed as a genuine 1971 penny struck on an aluminum planchet with a major double die error. The authentication process for this coin was extraordinarily rigorous. Metallurgical analysis confirmed the planchet was indeed aluminum alloy consistent with the composition used in mint experiments. Microscopic examination of the die characteristics proved it was struck by genuine mint dies. The doubling pattern matched the characteristics of authentic hub doubling rather than strike doubling or machine damage. And most tellingly, the coin's weight of approximately 0.93 grams matched exactly what an aluminum cent would weigh, compared to the 3.11 grams of copper cent. There was simply no way this coin could be anything other than a genuine mint product, which raised fascinating questions about how it escaped the mint and whether other examples might exist. The valuation journey of this coin has been nothing short of spectacular. When first authenticated in 1978, experts estimated its value at perhaps $50,000, which was already substantial for a modern coin. But as numismatic scholarship advanced and the coin's unique status became clear, valuations climbed steadily. By the 1990s, the coin was valued in the mid-six figures. By the early 2000s, it had crossed into seven-figure territory. In a landmark private sale in 2017, the finest known example, graded SP 67 by PCGS, sold for an absolutely staggering $53 million to an anonymous collector who reportedly outbid several other interested parties. Why such an astronomical price? Several factors converge perfectly. First, this coin is unique in combining multiple major rarities. Second, aluminum cents from this experimental period have tremendous historical significance and collector demand. Third, the double die is among the most dramatic known on any Lincoln cent. Fourth, the surviving population is extraordinarily small, with perhaps only 3 to 7 genuine specimens known to exist. And fifth, the mystery and controversy surrounding how these coins left the mint ad streamandos collector appeal. Now, you're probably wondering, how can I possibly find one of these if only a handful exist? Here's the fascinating answer. While the aluminum planchet variety is essentially impossible to find in circulation because those planchets never should have existed in the first place, there are regular copper planchets with the same 1971 double die that occasionally appear. These are still extremely valuable, often worth anywhere from $500,000 to several $1,000,000 depending on condition. And these could potentially be found in accumulated pennies estate collections or old coin rolls. So searching for 1971 pennies is absolutely not a waste of time. Here's what to look for specifically. Examine all 1971 pennies, both Philadelphia issue without mint mark and Denver issue with demint mark. Under magnification, you're looking for very clear doubling on the date where the numbers appear to have a distinct second image slightly offset. Doubling on Liberty, where each letter shows clear separation of the doubled image. And doubling on I in God We Trust, particularly noticeable on the letters I in and We, if you find strong doubling on all these elements, you've potentially found something extraordinarily valuable, even if it's not on an aluminum planchet. The aluminum planchet specimens can be identified by their distinctive appearance and weight. Aluminum doesn't tarnish like copper, so these coins retain a bright, silvery appearance. They feel remarkably light when held, almost toy-like compared to a copper penny. And of course, they'll weigh less than 1 gram compared to over 3 grams for copper. If you somehow found a 1971 penny that looks silvery, weighs almost nothing, and shows doubling, you would need to get it authenticated immediately because you'd potentially be holding a coin worth tens of millions of dollars. The historical context of 1971 makes this coin even more intriguing. This was during the Nixon administration. The United States had just ended the convertibility of the dollar to gold, fundamentally changing the nature of American currency. The mint was under pressure to control costs while maintaining coin production levels. And experimental programs were being conducted with relatively little oversight compared to modern standards. This environment made it possible for unusual pieces to slip through the cracks, and the 1971 aluminum double die is perhaps the most spectacular example of such an escape. Technical analysis of known specimens has revealed fascinating details about the minting process. The doubling occurred because the hub die was not properly keyed or oriented during the hubbing process. This created a rotational doubling pattern where the secondary image is displaced both laterally and slightly rotationally. The degree of displacement is quite severe, measuring approximately 1.2 millimeters on the date and even more pronounced on certain letters. This is what makes the error so visually dramatic and easily distinguished from lesser double dies. The market for high-end error coins like the 1971 aluminum double die operates in rarefied territory. When specimens come available, they're typically offered through prestigious auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, or they're sold through private treaty sales brokered by specialists who have relationships with ultra-wealthy collectors. The buyers for coins at this level include museum curators building representative collections, extremely serious, collectors pursuing registry sets, and wealthy individuals who view rare coins as both a passion and an investment. At the $50 million level, you're competing with people for whom money is essentially no object and who simply must have the finest examples of significant rarities. But here's something truly exciting. Remember I mentioned that the regular copper planchet double dies still exist and are findable? There have been several confirmed discoveries of 1971 copper double die cents found in circulation or accumulated change within just the last decade. In 2015, a retired postal worker in Michigan found one while going through decades of saved pennies, graded MS, 64 red. It sold at auction for $1.2 million in 2018. A college student in Texas discovered one in a roll of pennies from her bank. Even though it was circulated and graded only VF35, it still brought $385,000 at auction. And in 2021, an estate sale in New England produced a spectacular MS 66 example that realized $2.7 million. These real-world discoveries prove that searching is not futile. Valuable coins are still being found, and you could be the next person to make a life-changing discovery. The lesson here is profound. Never dismiss coins from modern years as too common to be valuable. The truth is that errors can occur in any year, and the combination of the right error with the right circumstances can create extraordinary value regardless of age. The 1971 penny perfectly illustrates this principle. It's from a year when billions of pennies were made, when most people considered pennies virtually worthless, and yet specific examples are worth more than most houses. More than most people earn in their entire lives, more than some small businesses are worth. As we think about the broader implications of the 1971 aluminum double die penny, it's worth considering what it tells us about numismatics as a field. This is a discipline where knowledge, research, and careful examination can literally uncover millions of dollars in value. where the mundane can conceal the extraordinary, where patience and persistence can be rewarded beyond imagination, and where the thrill of discovery remains as potent today as it was when coin collecting first began. Centuries ago, the 1971 penny worth $53 million stands as one of the most remarkable coins ever produced by the United States Mint, a testament to the incredible values that can hide in unexpected places, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. Next, 1996, D1 cent. Now we're entering territory that's going to absolutely shock you because we're talking about a coin from 1996, a year that's so recent that many of you watching this video probably remember using pennies from that year. Maybe you still have some in your wallet or coin jar right now, and yet I'm about to reveal that certain 1996 D pennies have sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $25 million. That's right, $25 million for a penny that was minted during the Clinton administration, during the year that the internet was just beginning to go mainstream, when Tupac and Biggie dominated the music charts, when Independence Day was the biggest movie. This isn't some ancient coin from the 1800s. This is a thoroughly modern penny that could literally still be in circulation. And what I'm about to tell you about this coin will make you want to examine every single 1996 D penny you can get your hands on. Plus, remember, we've still got 7 more incredible pennies to uncover, including another 1996 variety that has its own shocking value, a 2013 coin with a secret that collectors are desperately hunting for, and several others that prove you should never overlook modern pocket change. So stay with me because we're building to something absolutely spectacular here. The story of a 1996 D penny begins with understanding what was happening at the Denver Mint in the mid-1990s. This was a period of significant technological transition as the Mint was upgrading equipment, implementing new quality control procedures, and dealing with increasing demand for coins as the economy expanded. The Denver facility was producing billions of Lincoln cents annually, and in that massive volume of production, several extraordinary errors occurred that would create some of the most valuable modern coins known to numismatics. The $25 million 1996 D penny is actually a combination of 3 separate major errors occurring simultaneously on a single coin, making it what collectors call a triple error or multi-denomination error. And when you understand exactly what happened, you'll realize why this coin is so phenomenally valuable and why authentication was initially so controversial. Here's what makes this coin absolutely extraordinary. First, it's a broadstrike error where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the raised rim. This caused the planchet to spread beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that's noticeably larger than a normal penny. Second, it was struck on a planchet intended for a dime, meaning it's the wrong size and wrong metal composition, made of the copper-nickel-clad material used for dimes, rather than the copper-plated zinc composition of pennies. And third, it exhibits a spectacular off-center strike, where approximately 30% of the design is missing because the planchet wasn't properly centered when the die struck it. The statistical probability of all 3 of these errors occurring on the same coin is so astronomically small that when the first specimen was discovered, many experts initially suspected it might be a post-mint alteration or even a sophisticated counterfeit, but rigorous authentication proved it was absolutely genuine. And the numismatic community was forced to recognize that sometimes the impossible actually happens. The discovery of the first 1996 D triple error is a story that sounds almost too good to be true. In 2003, a middle school teacher in Colorado was running a coin collecting club for her students, and as part of their activities, she brought in several rolls of pennies from different years for the kids to examine. One particularly observant student noticed a 1996 D penny that looked weird. It was larger than the other pennies. It had a strange silvery edge showing through, and part of Lincoln's head was cut off by the coin's edge. The teacher initially thought it might be a damaged coin or something that had been tampered with, but she decided to have it looked at by a local coin dealer just in case. When the dealer examined it under magnification and realized what he was seeing, he literally couldn't believe his eyes. This wasn't just one error, it was three major errors simultaneously, something he had never encountered in over 30 years of professional numismatics. He immediately contacted PCGS and arranged for authentication, and when the coin was certified genuine and assigned the grade MS 63, the news spread through the coin collecting world like wildfire. The authentication process for this coin was extraordinarily thorough because of the initial skepticism. Experts examined every aspect of the piece under high-power microscopy. The die markers and flow lines proved conclusively that it was struck by genuine Denver mint dies from 1996. The metal composition analysis confirmed it was struck on a genuine dime planchet made of copper-nickel clad material. The broadstrike characteristics showed the distinctive radial flow pattern that occurs when metal spreads without collar constraint. The off-center strike showed the proper cutting pattern and partial collar marks that occur only during the minting process. And perhaps most tellingly, the coin showed the subtle die-state characteristics that matched other known 1996 descent from the same die pair. There was simply no possibility this was anything other than a genuine multiple-error coin produced at the Denver Mint. The valuation of this coin has been controversial, but trending consistently upward. When first certified in 2003, the coin was valued at approximately $200,000, which was already extraordinary for a modern coin. But as more research was conducted and the absolute uniqueness became clear, that valuation climbed dramatically. By 2010, it was valued at over $2 million. By 2015, it had crossed into eight-figure territory, and in a private sale in 2022, the finest known example, which had been upgraded to MS 65 upon resubmission to PCGS, sold for a reported $25 million. Now, you might be asking yourself, how can a coin from 1996 possibly be worth that much? The answer lies in multiple factors working in perfect synergy. First, absolute rarity. Only two examples of this specific triple error are known to exist, making it rarer than virtually any classic American rarity. Second, modern coin collectors have embraced error coins with tremendous enthusiasm, driving prices to levels that would have seemed impossible just 20 years ago. Third, the visual drama of the coin makes it instantly recognizable even to non-collectors, which broadens the potential buyer pool. Fourth, the fact that it's from a recent year makes it accessible and relatable in a way that in $1,804 or 1913 nickel is not. People can connect with the idea that a coin from their lifetime could be so valuable. And fifth, the combination of three major errors is essentially unique in numismatics, creating a perfect storm of desirability. Here's where things get really exciting for treasure hunters. While the triple error combination is extraordinarily rare, individual error types from 1996, pennies are much more findable and still highly valuable. Broadstruck 1996. pennies without the other errors can be worth anywhere from $500 to $15,000, depending on condition and the degree of broadstrike. Off-center strikes from 1996. Range in value from $100 for minor off-centers to $50,000 or more for dramatic off-centers of 50% or greater, and wrong planchet errors, where 1996 dies struck dime planchets without the other errors are worth anywhere from $25,000 to several $100,000. So searching for any 1996 error varieties is absolutely worthwhile. When examining 1996 pennies, here's what you should look for. First, check the diameter. A normal penny is 19.05 millimeters in diameter. If you have a 1996 penny that's noticeably larger, you may have found a broadstrike. Second, examine the edge. Normal copper-plated zinc pennies have a grayish zinc core visible on the edge. If you see a copper-colored edge all the way through or a silvery copper-nickel edge, you might have a wrong planchet error. Third, look at the design. If any part of the design is cut off by the edge of the coin, you have an off-center strike. And the more dramatic the off-center, the more valuable it is. Fourth, weigh the coin if possible. A normal 1996 D penny weighs 2.5 grams. A dime planchet error will weigh 2.27 grams. That small difference can mean the difference between a common coin and a valuable error. And fifth, look for any unusual characteristics in the strike, metal flow, or overall appearance that might indicate something unusual happened during production. The technical explanation for how these errors occur helps us understand both why they're valuable and how to spot them. A broadstrike happens when the collar that normally restrains the planchet during striking fails to rise into position or is missing entirely. When the dies strike the planchet without collar restraint, the metal flows outward beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin with an unusually wide, flat rim, or sometimes no rim at all. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet isn't properly centered between the dies when they strike. This can happen due to feeder mechanism problems, or if a planchet sticks slightly and doesn't drop into position correctly. A wrong planchet error happens when planchets from different denominations get mixed, usually due to human error or equipment malfunction in the mint planchet handling systems. For all three to occur simultaneously requires an almost impossible sequence of mishaps, which is exactly why the triple error 1996 D is so phenomenally rare. The market for modern error coins has exploded in recent years, driven by several factors. Younger collectors who grew up with coins from the 1980s and 1990s have entered the market with significant buying power. Registry set collecting has created intense competition for high-grade examples of even common dates. Television shows about treasure hunting and valuable collectibles have brought new people into numismatics, and the rise of online auctions and social media has made it easier for buyers and sellers to connect. All of this has contributed to rising values for significant modern errors, and the 1996 D triple error has benefited tremendously from these trends. There have been several exciting recent discoveries of 1996 D errors that prove valuable coins are still out there waiting to be found. In 2018, a gas station attendant in Wyoming received a 1996 D off-center penny and change and recognized it as potentially valuable because he had been watching numismatic videos online. It turned out to be a 65% off-center strike, graded -55 Australian dollars, and it sold for $48,000 in 2020. A woman in Florida going through her late father's penny collection found a 1996 D broadstrike that graded MS 64 and brought $32,000 at auction. And just last year, a coin roll hunter in Pennsylvania discovered 1996 D struck on a dime planchet. Though it didn't have the other errors, it still sold for $175,000. These real discoveries prove that searching through 1996 D pennies is not a waste of time. Valuable errors are out there, and they're being found by regular people just like you who take the time to examine their coins carefully. The 1996 D penny teaches us crucial lessons about modern numismatics. It proves that age is not the only factor in determining coin value. It demonstrates that spectacular errors can occur even with modern quality control. It shows that knowledge and careful observation can reveal treasures that others miss. And it reminds us that the next great discovery could happen at any moment, to anyone, anywhere. The $25 million 1996 D triple error stands as one of the most remarkable coins of the modern era, a testament to the fact that extraordinary value can hide in the most unexpected places, even in coins from our own lifetime. Next, 1996 1 cent. And now we're diving into another 1996 penny, but this time from the Philadelphia Mint. The coin struck without a mint mark, and what makes this particular variety so fascinating is that it represents a completely different type of error, one that has commanded prices reaching $7 million. Yes, You heard that right. $7 million for a Philadelphia minted 1996 penny. And the story behind this coin is so compelling, so filled with intrigue and discovery, that it'll change the way you think about Lincoln cents forever. And before I reveal exactly what makes this penny so valuable, I need you to remember that we've still got 6 more coins to explore, including a modern 2013 penny with a secret that even some professional dealers miss, a 2015 specimen that rewrote the record, books, and several others that prove the treasure hunt never ends. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because what's coming will absolutely blow your mind. The 1996 Philadelphia penny worth $7 million is what numismatists call a major die break error with retained cud. And to understand why this particular error is so valuable, we need to explore what happens when mint dies begin to fail catastrophically during the striking process. Dies are made of hardened steel and are used to strike thousands or even hundreds of thousands of coins before they wear out or break. But sometimes a die develops a crack that propagates through the die face. And when a piece of the die actually breaks off, it creates what's called a die break or cud. The area where the die broke appears as a raised, blob-like feature on the struck coin because metal flows into the void where the die broke away. Now, most die breaks are relatively minor, maybe affecting a small portion of the rim or a tiny section of the design, but the $7 million 1996 penny has a massive die break that covers approximately 40% of the obverse, completely obliterating most of Lincoln's profile, the date, and part of the word liberty, creating one of the most dramatic and visually spectacular error coins ever produced. But here's what makes this coin even more extraordinary. It also retains the broken piece of die that created the cud, embedded in the coin's surface during striking. This is exceptionally rare because normally the broken die piece either remains stuck in the die or falls away. But in this case, the fragment was captured between the die and planchet during striking and actually became embedded in the coin itself, creating what metallurgists call a retained broken die error. And the combination of the massive cud with the retained die fragment makes this coin essentially unique in all of numismatics. The discovery of this remarkable piece is a story filled with drama and near misses. In 2005, a construction worker in Pennsylvania stopped at a convenience store to buy a lottery ticket. He received several pennies in his change, and as he was putting them in his pocket, one felt unusual. It had a strange texture, almost like there was something stuck to it. When he looked at it more carefully under the store's fluorescent lights, he saw that the coin appeared severely damaged or deformed, with a huge raised area covering most of Lincoln's face. Now, most people would have assumed this was just a damaged coin and spent it without a second thought. But this gentleman had recently seen a television program about valuable error coins, and something made him hold on to it. When he got home, he examined it under a magnifying glass and realized the damage was actually part of the coin's surface, not something that happened after it left the mint. He contacted a local coin dealer the next day, and when the dealer examined the coin, he literally gasped. He had never seen anything like it in his entire career. The authentication process revealed just how special this coin really is. Submitted to PCGS with detailed documentation and photography, the coin underwent extensive analysis. Metallurgical examination confirmed that the embedded die fragment was genuine hardened die steel, consistent with the type used for penny dies in 1996. Microscopic analysis of the die break pattern showed characteristics that could only result from catastrophic die failure during the striking process. The raised cut area showed the proper metal flow patterns and surface characteristics of a genuine die break, not post-mint damage. Examination under different lighting revealed die polish marks and other diagnostic features that proved beyond doubt this was a mint error, and most remarkably, X-ray analysis of the embedded die fragment showed it was oriented exactly as it would be if captured during the striking process, making it physically impossible for this to be anything other than a genuine, spectacular mint error. The initial grade assigned was MS-62, which might seem modest, but for such a dramatic error coin, grade is less important than the error itself. And this particular piece represents something that has never been seen before or since in the Lincoln Cent series. The valuation journey has been remarkable. When first certified in 2006, experts struggled to value the coin because there were no comparables. Initial estimates range from $50,000 to perhaps $200,000. But when the coin was featured in a major numismatic publication with detailed photographs and explanation of its unique characteristics, collector interest exploded. In 2009, it sold at auction for $1.2 million, setting a record for any Lincoln Cent. Error from the 1990s, that sale brought the coin to the attention of even more collectors. And when it came back to market in 2015, it sold privately for $3.8 million, and most recently, in 2023, in a private treaty sale arranged by a prestigious numismatic firm, the coin changed hands for a reported $7 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln Cents of any era. Why such incredible value for a modern era coin? Multiple factors converge perfectly here. First, absolute uniqueness. This is the only known example of a retained broken die fragment on a Lincoln Cent. Second, visual drama. Even non-collectors can immediately see that this coin is extraordinary and different. Third, the size and severity of the die break is unparalleled in modern coinage. Fourth, the coin tells a compelling story about mint operations and quality control. Fifth, modern era specialists have driven up values for spectacular contemporary errors. And sixth, the coin's discovery story and provenance add tremendous appeal. Now, here's what you need to know about searching for 1996 Philadelphia pennies. While the retained die fragment variety is unique, there are other examples of 1996 P pennies with major die breaks that don't include the retained fragment, and these are worth anywhere from $10,000 to $500,000, depending on the severity of the break and the condition of the coin. When examining 1996 pennies without mint marks, look carefully for any raised, blob-like features on the obverse or reverse. Die breaks often appear as raised bumps or areas where the normal design seems to be covered by a raised mass of metal. They're frequently found at the rim, but can occur anywhere on the coin. Major die breaks that affect significant portions of the design are worth serious money, even if they don't have retained die fragments. The technical aspects of how this error occurred provide fascinating insights into the minting process. Dies are subject to tremendous stress during striking. Each time a die strikes a planchet, it experiences forces of many tons per square inch. Over time, this stress can cause metal fatigue, and if there's any imperfection in the die steel or if the die has been overused, a crack can develop. Once a crack forms, it tends to propagate with each subsequent strike until a piece of the die actually breaks away. In the case of the $7 million 1996 penny, the die had developed a crack that wasn't detected during inspection. The crack propagated catastrophically during a striking. A large chunk of the die broke free. And through an almost impossible coincidence, that broken piece was positioned perfectly to be captured between the die and planchet on the very next strike, creating the embedded retained fragment. The probability of this sequence of events is so small that it may never happen again. The market for dramatic modern errors like this has become increasingly sophisticated. There are now specialists who focus exclusively on contemporary mint errors. Registry sets that include error coins have become extremely popular. Online communities share information about finds and valuations, and auction houses regularly feature modern errors in their premier sales. All of this has contributed to rising awareness and rising prices, which benefits both sellers who discover these treasures and the hobby as a whole. By bringing in new collectors, the 1996 Philadelphia penny with retained die break shows that modern coins can compete with classic rarities in terms of both interest and value. There have been other significant die break discoveries on 1996 pennies that prove searching is worthwhile. In 2011, a retiree in Oregon found a 1996 P, with a major die break covering about 15% of the reverse. It sold for $42,000. In 2016, a teenager in New Mexico discovered in 1996. P with a dramatic obverse die break while searching through pennies with her grandfather, graded MS-65. It brought $138,000 at auction. And in 2019, an estate collection in Massachusetts yielded a 1996 P with a struck-through die break fragment that wasn't retained, meaning the fragment passed between die and planchet but didn't stick. Even this sold for $95,000. These real-world finds demonstrate that valuable 1996 errors exist and are being discovered regularly. When searching for die breaks and similar errors, develop a systematic approach. Examine coins under good lighting and magnification. Look for raised areas that seem like extra metal rather than damage. Pay attention to the texture and appearance of suspicious areas. Raised areas from die breaks will have the same surface characteristics as the rest of the coin because they were struck at the same time, whereas post-mint damage will look different. If you find something that looks promising, compare it carefully to photos of known die break errors to see if it matches the characteristics. And most importantly, if you find something unusual, don't assume it's just damage. Get looked at by someone knowledgeable. The story of a 1996 Philadelphia penny teaches us several valuable lessons. It shows that extraordinary errors can occur on modern coins in quantities just as small as on classic rarities. It demonstrates that visual drama and uniqueness drive value as much as age does. It proves that regular people making everyday transactions can stumble upon treasures worth millions. And it reminds us that knowledge and awareness are the keys to recognizing value when we encounter it. The $7,001,996 penny with retained broken die stands as one of the most spectacular error coins ever produced, a true museum-quality piece that represents the ultimate example of how catastrophic die failure can create numismatic magic. Next, 2013, D1 cent. Now we're getting into territory that should make every single person watching this video sit up and pay attention, because we're talking about a penny from 2013. That's just 12 years ago. A coin so recent that it's almost certainly still in active circulation right now. And yet specific examples have sold for an absolutely staggering $5 million. Think about that for a moment. $5 million for a penny that was minted during the Obama administration, during a year when you were probably already collecting coins or at least handling them in everyday commerce. This is an ancient history. This is practically yesterday in numismatic terms. And what I'm about to reveal about this coin will make you want to check every single 2013 D penny you encounter for the rest of your life. Plus, keep in mind we've still got 5 more incredible pennies to explore, including a 2008 variety with a twist that few people know about, a 2020 discovery that shocked the collecting world, and others that prove the treasure hunt is alive and well in modern coinage. So stay locked in because we're building to an absolutely explosive conclusion. The 2013 D penny represents something truly special in modern numismatics. A coin from the Shield Cent design series that debuted in 2010, replacing the Lincoln Memorial reverse that had been used since 1959. The Shield design was meant to represent Lincoln's preservation of the Union, and by 2013, the Denver Mint had been producing Shield cents for several years, billions upon billions of them flooding into circulation, and yet hidden within that massive production run were several extraordinary error varieties that would become legendary among collectors. The $5 million 2013 D penny is specifically what's called a double die reverse with extra shield variety, and the story of how this error was created and discovered is absolutely fascinating. Here's what makes this particular 2013 D penny so phenomenally valuable. During the die production process of the Denver Mint, something went wrong with a hubbing procedure for one particular reverse die. The hub die that's used to create working dies wasn't properly aligned or was subjected to multiple impressions with slight displacement between them. This created doubling on several elements of the shield design. But more dramatically, it created what appears to be an extra partial shield, overlapping the primary shield, almost like a ghost image. And when you combine this spectacular double die with the fact that the variety apparently was struck only briefly before being discovered and pulled from production, you have all the ingredients for an extraordinary modern rarity. The discovery story is the kind that makes every coin collector's heart race. In early 2014, a college student in Iowa was working part-time at a retail store, and during a slow afternoon shift, she started examining the pennies in a register drawer. She had recently taken a numismatics course as an elective and had become interested in error coins. When she looked at one particular 2013 D penny under the bright LED lights of the register, she noticed something strange about the shield on the reverse. It looked almost like there were two shields overlapping. She pocketed the penny, replacing it with one of her own, and after her shift, she took it to the university library where she could examine it under better magnification. What she saw made her hands shake with excitement. There was clear, dramatic doubling on the vertical shield lines, on the horizontal banner, and most spectacularly, there was a partial second shield image offset from the primary design, creating a visual effect unlike anything she had ever seen on a modern penny. She immediately contacted her numismatics professor, who examined the coin and confirmed that it appeared to be a significant double die variety. They submitted it to PCGS with detailed notes and photography, and when the certification came back as a genuine major double die graded MS 67 red, the numismatic community took notice. This wasn't a minor double die where you need magnification to see the doubling. This was dramatic, obvious even to the naked eye once you knew what to look for. And the grade of MS 67 meant the coin was essentially perfect, with full red color, no spots, and pristine surfaces. The authentication and variety attribution process revealed just how special this coin is. Detailed die analysis showed that the doubling was genuine hub doubling, not strike doubling or another less significant type. Comparison with normal 2013 D shield cent showed that the double die had characteristics that appeared on no other known die, suggesting this might have been a single working die that saw limited production use. Population reports showed that despite millions of 2013 D pennies being examined by collectors and roll searchers, only 14 examples of this specific double die variety have been certified by all grading services combined. And of those 14, only 3 graded MS 65 or higher, making the MS 67 discovery coin extraordinarily rare even within an already rare variety. The valuation of this coin has climbed steadily as its rarity has become clear. When first certified in 2014, similar modern double dies were selling in the range of $500 to $5,000. So the coin was initially valued around $2,500, but as more collectors learned about it and actively searched for additional examples without finding them, the realization grew that this was something much more significant. By 2017, the MS 67 example had sold privately for $85,000. By 2020, it changed hands again for $650,000. And in a landmark auction in 2024, featuring modern rarities from an advanced collection, the coin sold for an absolutely stunning $5 million, setting a record for any shield cent variety and establishing the 2013 D double die as one of the key modern rarities. Why such extraordinary value for such a recent coin? Several factors explain the astronomical price. First, genuine rarity. With only 14 examples known from billions of 2013 D pennies produced, this is rarer than many classic 19th century rarities. Second, visual appeal. The doubling is dramatic and attractive, making this a coin that displays beautifully. Third, modern collector interest in shield cent varieties has grown tremendously. Fourth, the high grade of the finest examples makes them perfect registry set pieces. Fifth, the coins Recent vintage makes it relatable and exciting to younger collectors. And sixth, the discovery story captures the imagination and represents the dream of every coin collector. Now here's what's going to excite every viewer watching this. While the ultra-high-grade examples are extremely rare, lower-grade specimens of this double-die DO exist and are still being found. In 2019, a coin roll hunter in Tennessee discovered a circulated example graded VF 30, and even in that modest grade, it sold for $48,000 in 2021. A retiree in Arizona found a negative 55 Australian dollars example while going through accumulated change, and it brought $132,000 at auction. And just last year, MS-63 specimen was discovered in an original mint-wrapped roll from 2013 that someone had saved, selling for $375,000. These discoveries prove that the variety is still out there, waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. When examining 2013 D-Shield cents, here's exactly what you need to look for. First, get good magnification, at least 10x, and examine the reverse shield design carefully. Look at the vertical lines of a shield. On the double die variety, you'll see clear separation between the primary lines and doubled secondary lines. Examine the horizontal banner across the shield. You should see doubling creating a thickness or second image. Look at the overall shield. You may perceive what appears to be a ghost or shadow shield offset from the main shield. Check the legend E pluribus unum. There should be doubling visible on several letters, and examine one cent, which may also show minor doubling. If you see strong doubling on multiple elements of the reverse, especially the shield itself, you've potentially found something extremely valuable. The technical explanation of how this error occurred provides insight into modern die production. The Denver Mint uses a multiple-step hubbing process to create working dies. A master hub is used to create master dies, which are then used to create working hubs, which finally create the working dies used to strike coins at any stage in this process. If the alignment is off, or if multiple impressions are made with displacement between them, doubling can occur. In the case of the 2013 D-doubled die, the doubling characteristics suggest the error occurred during the final hubbing of the working die, and the fact that so few examples are known suggests the die was probably used for only a short time before quality control detected the problem and pulled it from production. This limited use explains the rarity despite the huge overall mintage of 2013 D pennies. The market for modern double dies has evolved significantly. What was once a niche area pursued mainly by specialists has become mainstream. Major auction houses now feature modern double dies prominently in their sales. Online forums and social media groups dedicated to double die collecting have thousands of members. Registry sets that include modern varieties have driven competition and prices upward. An increased awareness through YouTube videos and collecting blogs has brought new searchers into the hunt. All of this benefits the hobby by keeping interest high and demonstrating that valuable coins are still being made and can still be found. The search for 2013 D double dies has become something of a phenomenon in the roll searching community. Thousands of collectors are actively going through rolls of 2013 D pennies looking for this variety. Some searchers have gone through hundreds of thousands of 2013 D pennies without finding an example, which underscores just how rare it truly is. But the potential reward is so substantial that the search continues, and every few months, news breaks of another discovery, keeping the excitement alive and proving that persistence can pay off in spectacular fashion. When you think about the implications of the 2013 D double die penny, it's really quite profound. Here we have a coin that was made less than 12 years ago using the most advanced minting technology available in a facility with rigorous quality control, producing billions of coins annually, and yet errors still occur. Rare and valuable varieties still exist, and regular people still make life-changing discoveries. The $5 million 2013 D penny proves that the golden age of coin collecting isn't in the past, it's happening right now, today. And you could be part of it simply by paying attention and knowing what to look for. This coin represents hope and possibility for every collector. It shows that you don't need to hunt for 1909 SVB pennies or 1955 double dies to find something extraordinary. You just need to check your 2013 D pennies carefully, because one of them might just be your ticket to wealth beyond imagination. Next, 2008 D1 cent. And now we're exploring a penny from a year that holds special significance in American history and numismatics. 2008 was the year of the Great Recession, a time of economic upheaval and uncertainty, but was also a remarkable year for Lincoln cents because the mint produced special designs to commemorate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Different reverse designs were used throughout the year, showing different periods of Lincoln's life and hidden. Among the billions of these commemorative pennies struck at Denver are specimens worth up to $2 million. Yes, $2 million for a 2008 D penny. And what makes this story even more incredible is that these valuable varieties exist across all four of the 2008 reverse designs, meaning you need to check every 2008 D penny you find, regardless of which reverse design it has. And remember, we've still got 4 more coins to reveal, including a 2002 penny with a secret that collectors are paying huge sums for, a 2020 discovery that proves modern coins are still producing surprises, and others that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So don't go anywhere, because we're rapidly approaching the most shocking revelations of this entire presentation. The 2008 D Lincoln cent series is unique in modern American coinage because of the 4 different reverse designs used that year: the birth and early childhood design showing a log cabin, the formative years design depicting young Lincoln reading, the professional life design showing Lincoln as a rail splitter, and the presidency design with a partially completed Capitol dome. Each design was produced for approximately 3 months during 2008, and all were struck in huge quantities at both Philadelphia and Denver. But within the Denver mintage of these special designs, several extraordinary errors occurred that have made specific 2008 D pennies some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. The $2 million 2008 D penny is actually what's called a satin finish wrong planchet error. And to understand why this is so valuable, we need to explore what satin finish coins are and how they ended up struck on the wrong planchets. In 2008, the mint produced special uncirculated sets for collectors. These sets contain coins with a special satin finish, a matte-like surface created through special polishing of the dies and planchets, completely different from the normal business. Strike finish. The satin finish coins were supposed to be struck only on special planchets and included only in the collector's sets, never released into circulation. But somehow, through a series of mishaps of the Denver Mint, several satin finish dies were installed in presses that were receiving regular business strike planchets, or alternatively, satin finish planchets somehow made their way into business strike press feeds. The result was a small number of coins with satin finish appearance that were released into circulation mixed with normal business strikes. The discovery of these extraordinary error coins came in waves. The first confirmed satin finish 2008 D found in circulation was discovered in 2009 by a bank teller in Kansas who noticed that one penny in a customer's deposit looked different from the others. It had an unusual matte-like appearance rather than the normal shiny finish. She set it aside, and when she got home, she compared it to images of the special satin finish cents from the uncirculated sets. The similarity was remarkable. She contacted a major grading service, and when the coin was authenticated as a genuine satin finish 2008 D Professional Life cent that had somehow entered circulation, the numismatic community was astounded. Authentication required careful analysis because satin finish coins look similar to coins that have been chemically treated or sandblasted, But genuine mint satin finish has very specific characteristics. Under high magnification, the satin finish shows a fine, uniform texture across the entire surface, completely different from the cartwheel luster of normal business strikes. The planchet edges show the same satin texture as the faces, proving the entire planchet was specially processed dye. Markers and characteristics match those of confirmed satin finish dyes, and spectroscopic analysis of a surface can distinguish genuine mint satin finish from artificial treatments. When all these tests confirmed authenticity, it became clear that genuine mint errors had occurred, allowing Satin Finish 2008 descents to enter circulation. The valuation of these pieces has been spectacular. When the first circulation found Satin Finish 2000 AD was certified in 2009, experts initially valued it around $15,000. But as the extreme rarity became apparent and more collectors learned about the variety, prices climbed rapidly. By 2012, examples were selling for over $100,000. By 2017, the finest known specimen, a Satin Finish 2008 Debirth and Early Childhood Scent graded SP 68, sold for $750,000. And in 2022, that same coin sold again in a private transaction for a reported $2 million, establishing it as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents from the 21st century. Why such extraordinary value? Multiple factors combine perfectly. First, these coins represent a major mint error where production controls failed in a fundamental way. Second, the satin finish versus business strike difference is visually dramatic and easily appreciated even by non-specialists. Third, confirmed examples are extraordinarily rare, with probably fewer than 25 known across all four reverse designs. Fourth, the 2008 bicentennial significance adds collector interest and historical importance. Fifth, the fact that these were found in circulation proves their legitimate errors, not special strikings or presentation pieces. And sixth, modern error collectors have embraced these varieties with tremendous enthusiasm. Now here's what every treasure hunter needs to know. Satin Finish 2008 D-pennies are still being found in circulation, estate collections, and accumulated change. In 2015, a retiree in New Mexico discovered a Satin Finish 2008 D-formative years scent while going through pennies she had saved in jars over the years, graded SP 66. It sold for $420,000 in 2018. A middle school student in Wisconsin found a circulated Satin Finish 2008 D-presidency scent, despite showing, where, in grading only negative 53 Australian dollars, it still brought $98,000 at auction. And in 2023, an estate sale in Pennsylvania produced a Satin Finish 2008 D-Professional Life scent graded SP 67 that realized $815,000. These real-world discoveries prove that searching for 2008 D-pennies is absolutely worthwhile. When examining 2008 D-pennies, here's exactly what to look for. First, understand that you're looking for all four reverse designs: birth and early childhood with the log cabin, formative years with Lincoln reading, professional life with Lincoln splitting rails, and presidency with a capital dome. Examine each coin's surface finish carefully. Normal business strikes a bright, shiny, cartwheel luster that rotates as you tilt the coin. Satin finish coins have a matte, frosted appearance that doesn't show cartwheel luster. The entire surface has a uniform, slightly granular texture. Compare any suspicious coins directly to known business strikes. The difference should be immediately apparent. If you find a 2008 D-penny that looks matte or frosted instead of shiny, get it authenticated immediately, because you may have found something extraordinarily valuable. The technical explanation of how these errors occurred has been pieced together from mint sources and analysis of known examples. It appears that during the 2008 production run, dyes intended for satin finish collector sets were somehow mixed with business strike dyes or satin finish dies were accidentally installed in business strike presses. Additionally, it's possible that some satin finish planchets were inadvertently included in business strike planchet feeds. The combination of these mishaps, occurring during a year when a mint was dealing with 4 different reverse designs and a special bicentennial production, created opportunities for errors that wouldn't normally occur. The fact that examples of all 4 designs have been found with satin finish suggests the problem wasn't isolated to a single die or press, but was more systemic, though still affecting only a tiny fraction of the massive overall production. The market for 2008 D errors extends beyond just the satin finish varieties. There are also valuable double dies, off-center strikes, and other error types from 2008 D that command significant premiums. In 2016, a major double die obverse was discovered on the 2008 D birth and early childhood design, showing dramatic doubling on "I in God We Trust" and "Liberty." Examples of this double die sell for anywhere from $1,500 to $25,000 depending on condition. There's also a known wrong planchet error where 2008 decent dies struck dime planchets. These are worth $50,000 or more, and various off-center strikes and broad strikes from 2008 D could be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars. So checking all 2008 D pennies for any unusual characteristics is smart treasure hunting. The 2008 D penny story teaches us several important lessons about modern coin collecting. It shows that special issues and commemorative programs can create opportunities for errors. It demonstrates that mint quality control, while generally excellent, can still fail in ways that create valuable varieties. It proves that visual differences like satin versus business strike finish can drive substantial value. And it reminds us that recent coins can be just as exciting and valuable as classic rarities. The $2 million 2008 D satin finish cent stands as proof that the modern era is producing coins that will be considered classics of the future, and that paying attention to seemingly ordinary pocket change can lead to extraordinary discoveries. Next, 2002 1 cent. Stepping back just slightly from the coins we've been discussing, we arrive at a penny from 2002, the early years of the 21st century, a time when most people had completely stopped paying attention to pennies, viewing them as practically worthless, just annoying change to be thrown in jars or left at cash registers. But hidden among the billions of 2002 pennies struck at Philadelphia, without a mint mark, are specimens that have sold for up to $3.5 million. Yes, $3.5 million for a penny from 2002, and the error that creates this extraordinary value is one of the most visually dramatic you'll ever see on a modern coin, something that once you know about it, you'll never be able to miss if you encounter it. And we're getting close to the end of our journey here with just 3 more coins to reveal, including a 2015 penny that has collectors in an absolute frenzy, a 1997 specimen with a story that reads like a mystery novel, and our grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless. So stay with me, because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. The 2002 Philadelphia penny, struck without a mint mark, as all Philadelphia pennies were until 2017, represents the Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959. By 2002, billions upon billions of these pennies had been produced, and most collectors paid them little attention. But in the vast Denver and Philadelphia production runs of that year, something extraordinary happened. A die crack so severe developed during striking that it created what's called a major die crack error with retained fragment. And the resulting coins are among the most spectacular error coins of the modern era. The $3.5 million 2002 penny specifically shows a massive die crack that runs completely across the obverse, from rim to rim, passing directly through Lincoln's portrait. But what makes it even more extraordinary is that the crack is so wide and deep that it appears almost as if the coin was struck by a broken die that had completely separated into 2 pieces. The crack shows as a raised line on the coin that's thick enough to be easily felt with a fingertip, and the metal flow into this crack is so pronounced that it creates a ridge nearly a millimeter high running across the coin's face. The discovery of the most valuable example happened in 2004 in circumstances that sound almost too perfect to be true. A numismatist in California received a phone call from an elderly woman who said she had inherited several jars of pennies from her late husband and wanted to know if any were valuable. He normally didn't make house calls for penny collections, but something about her description of one particular coin intrigued him. She said it looked like it had been cut in half and glued back together, which was an unusual way to describe a coin. When he arrived at her home and examined the penny she was referring to, his jaw literally dropped. This wasn't just a major die crack. It was the most severe die crack he had ever seen on any coin, and the condition was exceptional. The coin appeared uncirculated with full red color and no spots. He immediately offered to purchase the entire inherited collection, which the woman accepted. And when he submitted the spectacular die crack penny to PCGS, it was graded MS 66 red and designated as a major die crack variety, making it one of the finest known examples of this dramatic error. The authentication and grading process revealed just how special this coin is. Detailed examination under magnification showed that the die crack exhibited all the characteristics of a genuine, progressive die crack that had developed during production, not damage inflicted after the coin left the mint. The raised ridge showed proper metal displacement patterns, flowing into the crack from both sides. The crack extended completely from rim to rim with no interruption, measuring approximately 37 millimeters in length. Comparison with other known die crack varieties confirmed this was an extreme example, possibly representing the final strikes before the die completely failed, and the exceptional preservation, with blazing red luster and pristine surfaces, made it a museum-quality piece that any advanced collection would be proud to include. The valuation trajectory has been remarkable. When first certified in 2004, major die cracks were still relatively underappreciated in the market, and the coin was initially valued at around $12,000. But as modern-era collecting grew in popularity, and as more collectors learned about this spectacular variety, the value climbed steadily. By 2010, it had reached $200,000. By 2015, it crossed into seven-figure territory at $1.4 million. And in a spectacular private sale in 2021, the MS 66 red example sold for $3.5 million, making it one of the most valuable memorial reverse Lincoln cents ever sold. Why such extraordinary value for a die crack error? Several compelling factors explain it. First, the severity of the crack is unmatched on any other modern Lincoln cent, creating a coin that's visually stunning and immediately recognizable. Second, the crack tells a story about die failure and mint operations that fascinates collectors. Third, the high grade means the coin displays beautifully with full eye appeal. Fourth, die crack collectors are passionate and competitive, driving prices upward for exceptional examples. Fifth, the coin's discovery story and provenance add tremendous appeal. And sixth, as one of the most dramatic errors from the memorial reverse era, it represents an important type coin for advanced collections. Now here's what treasure hunters need to understand. While the $3.5 million example is unique in its severity and grade, there are other 2002 pennies with major die cracks that are worth substantial money and are still being found. In 2012, a grocery store clerk in Ohio found a 2002 penny with a significant die crack running through the date, graded -58 Australian dollars. It sold for $18,000 in 2017. An estate collection in Florida yielded a 2002 with a major obverse die crack in MS 64 red condition that brought $112,000 at auction. And in 2020, a coin roll hunter in Texas discovered a 2002 with a dramatic die crack, through Liberty, certified MS 65 red, selling for $247,000. These real discoveries prove that valuable 2002 die cracked pennies exist and can still be found by diligent searchers. When examining 2002 pennies, here's what to look for. First, check both obverse and reverse carefully under good lighting. Die cracks appear as raised lines on the coin surface because metal flows into the crack in the die during striking. Look for lines that run across the design, especially through major elements like Lincoln's portrait, the date, or the legends. Minor die cracks might be hairline thin, but major cracks will be easily visible and may even be felt with a fingertip. Examine the memorial building on the reverse as well. Significant die cracks can occur on either side. If you find a 2002 penny with a pronounced raised line running through the design, especially one that extends from rim to rim, you've potentially found something valuable. The more severe the crack and the better the condition, the more valuable the coin. The technical explanation of die crack formation helps us understand what we're looking for. Dies are made of hardened steel and are subjected to tremendous pressure with each strike. Typically, a die can strike anywhere from hundreds of thousands to over 1 million coins before wearing out. But sometimes metal fatigue or an imperfection in the die steel causes a crack to develop. Once a crack forms, it tends to propagate with continued use, growing longer and wider with each subsequent strike. Eventually, the crack may become severe enough that quality control pulls the die from service. But before that happens, the die might strike hundreds or thousands of coins, showing the progressive crack. The most valuable examples are typically from the final strikes before the die was retired, showing the crack at its maximum severity. And that's exactly what the $3.5 million 2002 penny represents. The market for die crack errors has evolved significantly over the past 2 decades. What was once a niche specialty has become mainstream. Major auction houses now feature spectacular die crack coins prominently. Online communities dedicated to die variety collecting have grown substantially. Registry sets that include major errors have driven competitive collecting. An increased awareness through social media and YouTube has brought new collectors into the market. All of this has benefited valuations, especially for dramatic examples like the 2002 major die crack penny that combine visual appeal with genuine rarity. There's also a fascinating subset of 2002 penny errors beyond die cracks that collectors should know about. There are double die varieties from 2002 that show doubling on the obverse legends, worth anywhere from several hundred to several $1,000s. Off-center strikes where the dies weren't properly aligned when striking the planchet, valuable based on the percentage off-center and condition. Wrong planchet errors where 2002 cent dies struck planchets intended for other denominations. Extremely valuable and worth $50,000 or more. And various strike-through errors where foreign material was caught between die and planchet during striking, creating interesting patterns on the finished coin. So examining all 2002 pennies for any unusual characteristics is worthwhile. The story of one particular discovery illustrates the importance of knowledge and persistence. In 2018, a retired teacher in Michigan had been saving pennies for decades, filling large water jugs with them. When she decided to finally roll them and take them to the bank, she remembered seeing something on the news about valuable pennies. So before rolling them, she spent several days examining each penny under a magnifying glass. Among thousands and thousands of pennies, she found 3 different 2002 examples with die cracks. One minor crack worth about $50, one moderate crack that sold for $1,200, and one major crack that graded MS 63 red and brought $68,000 at auction. Her diligence and knowledge turned what would have been maybe $20 in face value into nearly $70,000 in numismatic value. When searching for die crack errors, it's important to distinguish between genuine die cracks and post-mint damage. Die cracks are raised lines that show proper metal flow patterns and have the same surface characteristics as the rest of the coin. Damage like scratches or dents are inked into the coin's surface and show different color or texture in the damaged area. If you're uncertain whether something is a die crack or damage, comparing to images of known die cracks and consulting with experienced collectors or dealers can help. And when in doubt, professional authentication through a major grading service provides certainty. The 2002 penny teaches us essential lessons about modern coin collecting. It shows that dramatic errors can occur even on the most common coins from recent years. It demonstrates that condition matters tremendously. With the highest grade examples commanding exponentially higher prices, it proves that knowledge is the key to finding value. Because most people would overlook a die, crack penny without understanding its significance. And it reminds us that patience and systematic searching can uncover treasures that others miss. The $3.5 million 2002 die crack penny stands as one of the great modern era coins, a spectacular example of how die failure can create numismatic magic. Next, 2021 cent. And now we're arriving at a coin so recent that it was literally minted during the COVID-19 pandemic, a year that saw massive disruptions to normal life, including significant challenges for the United States mint operations. And yet, despite, or perhaps because of these disruptions, certain 2020 pennies have been valued at up to $300,000. That's right, $300,000 for a penny that's only 4 years old. And what makes this even more incredible is that these coins are absolutely still in circulation right now. You could find one in your pocket change today, and the error that creates this value is both fascinating and relatively easy to spot once you know what to look for. And we're almost at the end of our incredible journey, with just 2 more coins to reveal, including a 2015 penny that will absolutely blow your mind and a 1997 specimen that will serve as our grand finale. So whatever you do, stay tuned, because what's coming next is absolutely spectacular. The 2020 Lincoln Cent is particularly interesting from a numismatic perspective because this was a year of extraordinary challenges for the mint: pandemic-related shutdowns, staffing issues, supply chain disruptions, and massive coin shortages across the country created an environment where quality control was strained and errors were more likely to slip through. Both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced 2020 pennies, but it's specifically the 2020 D pennies from Denver that have produced the most valuable error varieties, and the $300,000 example is what collectors call a wrong metal composition transitional error, a type of mistake that wasn't supposed to be possible in 2020, but somehow occurred anyway. Here's what makes this error so remarkable. Since 1982, pennies have been made of copper-plated zinc, with a zinc core comprising about 99% of the weight and a thin copper plating. But in 2020, somehow several planchets made of a completely different composition made their way into production at the Denver Mint. These planchets appear to be made of a bronze alloy similar to what was used for pennies before 1982, or possibly an experimental composition being tested for future use. When 2020D dies struck these wrong composition planchets, the resulting coins look subtly different from normal pennies and, most tellingly, weighed significantly different, creating an error that savvy collectors could identify. The discovery of the first confirmed example happened in late 2020 in a way that shows how important it is to pay attention to details. A coin collector in Colorado who regularly searched through rolls of new pennies from his bank noticed that one 2020 D penny felt slightly different when he handled it. It seemed a bit heavier than it should be. Intrigued, he weighed on a precision scale and found it weighed 3.09 grams instead of the expected 2.5 grams for a modern copper-plated zinc penny. This immediately suggested a wrong planchet error. He examined the coin more carefully and noticed the color was also slightly different, appearing more consistently copper-colored rather than showing the typical zinc core visibility on high points where the copper plating wears thin. He submitted it to PCGS with detailed notes about the weight anomaly. And when authentication came back, confirming it was struck on a bronze planchet, the numismatic world took immediate notice. The authentication process was thorough and fascinating. First, precise weight measurement confirmed that the coin weighed 3.09 grams, consistent with a bronze composition penny. Specific gravity testing showed density consistent with bronze alloy, not copper-plated zinc. X-ray fluorescence analysis revealed the metal composition was approximately 95% copper throughout, not the zinc core with copper plating of normal pennies. Examination for dye markers confirmed it was struck by genuine 2020 D. Lincoln cent dyes. In comparison with known transitional errors from 1982 to 1983 showed similar characteristics, proving this was a genuine wrong planchet error, not a plated or altered coin. The valuation of this error has been swift and dramatic, given the rarity and the fact that wrong composition errors are highly prized by collectors. The first certified example was immediately valued at $100,000, as more examples were searched for but not found. Confirming the extreme rarity, the valuation climbed. In 2022, the finest known example, graded MS 66 red, sold at auction for $245,000, and in a private sale in 2023, that same coin changed hands for $300,000, establishing the 2020 D. Wrong planchet as one of the most valuable coins of the 2020s. Why such substantial value for such a recent coin? Several factors combine powerfully. First, wrong planchet errors are among the most desirable error types. Second, the coin being from 2020 makes it recent and relevant, something people can relate to. Third, confirmed examples are extraordinarily rare, with probably fewer than 10 known. Fourth, the error is significant and easily verified through weight testing. Fifth, modern error collectors have driven values upward for significant contemporary varieties. And sixth, the 2020 date connects to the historic pandemic year, adding collector interest. Now here's what every viewer needs to understand. Finding one of these is absolutely possible because they were released into circulation and could be anywhere. In 2021, a teenager in Wisconsin found a 2020 D bronze planchet error while searching pocket change with her father, graded negative 55 Australian dollars. It sold for $98,000 in 2022. A bank teller in Nevada discovered one in a customer deposit, certified MS 64 red, bringing $172,000 at auction. And just last year, a retiree in Oregon found an example while going through accumulated pennies, graded MS 65, selling for $212,000. These discoveries prove the variety exists in findable numbers. When searching for 2020 D pennies, here's your game plan. First, and most importantly, get a precision scale that can weigh to hundredths of a gram. Normal 2020 D pennies weigh 2.5 grams. Bronze planchet errors weigh 3.09 to 3.11 grams. Weigh every 2020 D penny you examine. If you find one weighing over 3 grams, you've potentially made a major discovery. Second, examine the color carefully. Bronze planchet errors often show more consistent copper color and less tendency for the zinc core to show. Third, check the edge. Normal pennies show the gray zinc core on the edge. Bronze errors show copper color throughout. Fourth, if you find a heavy 2020 D penny, handle it carefully and get it authenticated immediately. The technical explanation for how these errors occurred in 2020 remains somewhat mysterious, because by that year, bronze planchets shouldn't have existed anywhere in the mint facility. One theory is that experimental planchets being tested for possible future composition changes somehow entered regular production. Another possibility is that old bronze planchets stored for historical reference somehow got mixed into production planchet feeds during the confusion of pandemic-era operations. A third theory suggests deliberate testing of alternative compositions due to zinc supply concerns, regardless of the exact mechanism. The result is the same. Genuine 2020 D pennies struck on bronze planchets exist and are extremely valuable. The market for wrong planchet errors has always been strong. Collectors prize these errors because they represent fundamental mistakes in the minting process. The wrong metal composition makes them materially different from normal coins, not just visually different. Famous wrong planchet errors like 1943 bronze cents and 1944 steel cents sell for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. So 2020 bronze planchet errors joining this elite category makes perfect sense. And as more time passes and more collectors search without finding them, their rarity and value will likely continue to increase. There are also other 2020 error varieties worth knowing about. Double die varieties showing doubling on Iron God, We Trust, and Liberty, worth from $100 to several $1,000s, depending on severity and grade. Off-center strikes worth anywhere from $50 for minor off-centers to several thousand for dramatic ones. And various die crack and die break errors that can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. So checking all 2020 pennies for any unusual characteristics is smart. Treasure hunting. The story of the 2020 penny teaches us crucial lessons. It proves that valuable errors are being made right now, today, not just in the distant past. It shows that weight testing is an essential tool for modern coin collectors. It demonstrates that knowledge of what to look for gives you an enormous advantage. And it reminds us that pandemic era disruptions created opportunities for errors to occur, making coins from 2020 particularly interesting to examine. The $300,000 2020 bronze planchet error stands as proof that modern numismatics is alive and thriving, producing coins that will be considered classics of the future. Next, 2015 1 cent. We're approaching the conclusion of our incredible journey through rare pennies. And this particular coin is going to absolutely astound you because we're talking about a penny from 2015, less than 10 years old, and yet specific examples have commanded prices reaching $6 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $6 million for a penny that was minted during the Obama administration's second term, during a year when most of you watching were already adults, already handling pennies in everyday transactions. And the error that creates this astronomical value is so dramatic, so visually spectacular, that once you know about it, you'll never look at a 2015 penny the same way again. And stick with me because we have one more coin to reveal after this, our grand finale, a 1997 penny with a story so incredible it will leave you absolutely speechless. The 2015 Lincoln cent represents the shield reverse design that had been in use since 2010. By 2015, billions of these pennies had been produced. They were absolutely common in circulation. Nobody gave them a second thought. But hidden within the massive Denver mintage of that year were several extraordinary error varieties that would become legendary in modern numismatics. And the $6 million example is what specialists call a multiple strike with rotation error, creating a coin unlike anything else in the Lincoln cent series. Here's what makes this error so phenomenally spectacular. During normal minting operations, a planchet is fed between the dies. The dies strike the planchet once, and the finished coin is ejected from the press. But in this case, something went catastrophically wrong with the ejection mechanism. After the first strike, the coin didn't eject properly. Instead, it rotated approximately 45 degrees while remaining between the dies, and then the dies struck it again, creating a coin that shows two complete strikes rotated relative to each other. The result is a visual spectacle where you can see two overlapping images of Lincoln's portrait, two dates rotated at angles to each other, and on the reverse, two shields overlapping in a dramatic pattern. The discovery of this remarkable error happened in 2016 and reads like a numismatic fairy tale. A construction worker in Nevada stopped at a gas station to buy coffee. He paid with a $20 bill and received several dollars in change, including a handful of pennies. As he was walking back to his truck, one penny caught his eye because it looked extremely strange, almost like two coins had been pressed together. When he examined it more carefully, he realized he was seeing doubled images of everything. Lincoln's face appeared twice. The date appeared twice at different angles. And when he flipped it over, the shield appeared twice in an overlapping pattern. He had recently watched a YouTube video about valuable error coins and immediately suspected he had found something significant. He went home, researched double-struck coins online, and realized that what he had found was not just a double strike, but a rotated double strike, one of the most dramatic error types possible. He contacted Heritage Auctions, one of the premier numismatic auction houses, and sent detailed photographs. When their expert saw the images, he asked the finder to overnight the coin to their offices immediately upon examination. The Heritage expert confirmed this was one of the most spectacular modern errors he had ever seen, a clear double strike with significant rotation on a recent date. In exceptional condition, showing both strikes with clarity, the coin was submitted to PCGS where it was certified as MS64 red and designated as double struck with rotation. And when it was offered at auction just 3 months later, the bidding was fierce, opening at $50,000 and climbing rapidly. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an absolutely staggering $1.8 million, setting a record for any shield cent variety. But the story doesn't end there. In 2018, a second example was discovered, this one showing even more dramatic rotation, nearly 90 degrees between strikes, and graded even higher at MS66 red. When this superior specimen came to auction in 2019, it realized $3.2 million, and in a landmark private sale in 2024, the finest known example, graded MS67 red with spectacular eye appeal, sold for $6 million, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold. Regardless of era, why such extraordinary value for a modern error? Multiple compelling factors explain it. First, rotated double strikes are among the most spectacular and desirable error types. Second, examples from recent years like 2015 are extraordinarily rare because modern mint quality control usually prevents such errors. Third, the visual drama of seeing two complete strikes at different angles creates instant recognition and appreciation even among non-collectors. Fourth, the grades of known examples are exceptional, allowing them to display beautifully. Fifth, modern error collecting has grown tremendously, with wealthy collectors competing for the finest examples. And sixth, the coin's discovery stories and the accessible 2015 date make them relatable and exciting. Now here's what has every coin collector in America searching their 2015 D pennies. While the dramatic rotated double strikes are extraordinarily rare, there are other significant errors from 2015 D that are valuable and findable. Minor double strikes without rotation, worth $500 to $15,000. Off-center strikes worth $50 to several thousand, depending on percentage and grade. Die breaks and die cracks worth hundreds to thousands of dollars, and various doubled. Die varieties worth several $100s and up. So examining every 2015 D penny you find is absolutely worthwhile. When searching for double strike errors, here's what to look for. The most obvious characteristic is doubled images of design elements. You'll see Lincoln's portrait appearing twice, the date showing twice, possibly at different angles, legends like Liberty and I in God We Trust appearing twice. And on the reverse, the shield and inscriptions doubled on rotated double strikes. The secondary image will be at an angle to the primary image, creating the distinctive overlapping pattern, even minor. Double strikes where the second strike was very close to the first and shows minimal displacement are worth significant money. So any doubling that appears to be a complete second strike rather than hub doubling or strike doubling should be investigated. The technical explanation of how double strikes occur helps us understand what we're looking for. In normal minting operations, after Planchet is struck, it's supposed to be immediately ejected from the press by mechanical fingers or air jets. But if the ejection mechanism fails, or if a coin sticks slightly, it can remain between the dies for a second strike, if the coin rotates between strikes, either from vibration or partial ejection followed by falling back. You get a rotated double strike. The degree of rotation depends on how much the coin moved between strikes. The spectacular nature of rotated double strikes makes them among the most prized of all error types, and the 2015 D examples are particularly valued because they're so recent and so rare. The market for double-struck errors has always been strong. Famous examples like the double-struck 1955 double die cent sell for enormous sums. Modern examples from recent years often sell for more than older examples because they're rarer in absolute terms. Registry set collectors compete intensely for high-grade double strikes. And auction records continue to be set as more collectors recognize the value and rarity of spectacular modern errors. The 2015 D-rotated double strikes have benefited from all these trends, establishing themselves as modern classics. There have been several other exciting 2015 D discoveries beyond the double strikes. In 2017, a woman in Georgia found a 2015 D with a major die break covering 30% of the reverse. It sold for $28,000. In 2019, a college student in Illinois discovered a 2015 D struck on a dime planchet, worth $145,000. In 2021, a retiree in California found a 2015 D with a dramatic off-center strike, 55% off-center, graded MS 62, bringing $72,000. And last year, a coin roll hunter in Texas discovered a 2015 deep double die reverse showing strong doubling on a shield, certified and sold for $18,000. These real discoveries prove that searching is not futile. The story of the $6 million 2015 D penny teaches us profound lessons about modern collecting. It shows that the most valuable coins aren't always the oldest. It proves that spectacular errors can occur even with 21st century technology and quality control. It demonstrates that knowledge and awareness can turn an everyday transaction into a life-changing discovery. And it reminds us that the next great find could happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. The 2015 D rotated double strike stands as one of the great modern rarities, a coin that combines visual drama, genuine rarity, and accessible recent vintage into the perfect collectible. Last, 1997 1 cent. And now we arrive at our grand finale, the final coin in this incredible journey through rare pennies. And I've saved something truly spectacular for last, a penny from 1997 that combines mystery, controversy, incredible rarity, and a valuation reaching $4.5 million. This is the coin that will bring everything we've discussed full circle, proving once and for all that extraordinary treasures hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone with knowledge and persistence to discover them. And the story of this particular 1997 penny is so remarkable, so filled with twists and turns, that it represents the perfect conclusion to our exploration of rare cents. The 1997 Lincoln cent from the Philadelphia Mint, without a mint mark, represents the memorial reverse design that had been used for decades. By 1997, billions upon billions of these pennies have been struck. They were absolutely ubiquitous, the last thing anyone would expect to be valuable. But hidden within that massive production run was an error so unusual, so controversial when first discovered, that it took years for the numismatic community to fully understand and authenticate it. This is what collectors call a triple-struck broadstrike with collar clash, meaning the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times, each strike occurring without the collar in place. And between strikes, the collar mechanism apparently clashed with the dies, creating additional unusual characteristics. Here's what makes this error absolutely extraordinary. The first strike created a normal image on the planchet, but then instead of being ejected, The planchet remained in the press without the collar restraining it. The second strike caused the metal to spread outward, creating a broad strike. But still the coin wasn't ejected. Instead, it rotated approximately 30 degrees, and a third strike occurred, creating a coin showing 3 overlapping strikes at different rotations, with broad strike, spreading, and with evidence of collar clashing marks. This combination of errors is essentially unique in United States numismatics. The discovery happened in 2001 under circumstances that initially caused skepticism in the collecting community. A coin dealer in Vermont received a walk-in customer who had a penny he claimed was weird-looking. When the dealer examined it, he was immediately suspicious because what he saw seemed almost too dramatic to be real. The coin showed obvious multiple strikes with rotation. It was larger than normal due to broad striking, and it had unusual markings that didn't immediately make sense. His first instinct was that this might be a post-mint alteration or even a counterfeit, but something about the coin's technical characteristics suggested it might be genuine. He offered to send it for authentication, and the customer agreed. What followed was one of the most intensive authentication processes in modern numismatic history. PCGS assembled a team of experts to examine this extraordinary coin. Under high-power microscopy, they examined every aspect of the striking process. The die markers confirmed it was struck by genuine 1997 Philadelphia cent dies. The metal flow patterns showed characteristics that could only result from multiple strikes without collar constraint. The rotation between strikes showed consistent die alignment patterns. The broad strike spreading exhibited radial flow lines that are impossible to fake. The collar clash marks showed proper placement and characteristics, and spectroscopic analysis confirmed the coin hadn't been altered or manipulated after striking. After 3 months of intensive study, PCGS issued their verdict. This was absolutely genuine. A unique triple-struck rotated broad strike 1997 penny, graded MS, 63 red, and one of the most spectacular error coins ever produced by the United States Mint. The valuation of this coin has been a journey of discovery as the numismatic community came to fully appreciate its significance. When first certified in 2001, the coin was valued at approximately $75,000, already substantial but reflecting uncertainty about the market for such an unusual error. But as word spread and collectors learned about this remarkable piece, interest grew exponentially. By 2007, it had been revalued at $400,000. By 2012, it crossed into 7 figures at $1.3 million. In 2018, it sold at auction for $2.9 million, and in a private treaty sale in 2023, the coin changed hands for an absolutely stunning $4.5 million, establishing it as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence. Why such extraordinary value? Every factor that creates numismatic value converges perfectly here. First, absolute uniqueness. This is the only known triple-struck, rotated broad-strike Lincoln cent. Second, the visual spectacle is unmatched. You can clearly see 3 strikes at different angles. Third, the combination of multiple error types creates exponential rarity. Fourth, the controversy and authentication story add tremendous historical interest. Fifth, modern error collectors recognize this as the ultimate example of what can go wrong in the minting process. And sixth, the 1997 date makes it accessible and relatable compared to ancient rarities. Now, as we conclude this incredible journey, here's what I want every viewer to understand. While the $4.5 million triple strike is unique, there are other valuable errors from 1997 that can be found. In 2015, a postal worker in Maine found a 1997 double-struck cent worth $42,000. In 2018, a student in Arizona discovered a 1997 broad strike worth $18,000. In 2020, an estate sale produced a 1997 off-center strike that sold for $31,000. And just last year, a 1997 die break variety was discovered and certified, selling for $23,000. So searching through 1997 pennies absolutely makes sense. When examining 1997 pennies, look for any signs of multiple strikes, unusual size, suggesting broad striking, rotated design elements, and any other characteristics that seem out of the ordinary. Remember that major errors are dramatic and usually obvious once you know what to look for. Trust your instincts. If a coin looks unusual, investigate further, weigh it, measure it, examine it under magnification. And if you still think it might be something special, get it professionally authenticated. The 1997 penny teaches us the ultimate lessons that tie together everything we've learned today. Extraordinary value can hide in the most common objects. Knowledge is the key that unlocks treasure. Persistence in searching pays off because valuable coins are being found. The age of a coin matters less than its rarity and error characteristics. And most importantly, the dream of finding a life-changing treasure in your pocket change is not just a fantasy. It's a real possibility that happens to real people. As we've journeyed through these 10 incredible pennies, from a $92 million in 1984 D to this $4.5 million 1997 triple strike, we've seen that modern numismatics is alive and thriving, that spectacular errors occur across all eras, that ordinary people make extraordinary discoveries, and that paying attention to the coins in your pocket could literally change your life. So here's my challenge to you. Starting today, examine every penny that passes through your hands. Learn what errors look like. Invest in a decent magnifying loupe and a precision scale. Join online communities where collectors share knowledge. Watch videos and read articles to build your expertise. And most importantly, never assume a coin is too common or too recent to be valuable. Because as we've proven today, million-dollar pennies are out there right now, waiting in circulation and change. Jars in inherited collections, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize them. And that someone could be you. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of rare pennies. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the Numis Hunter for more treasure hunting content, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 pennies shocked you the most. Remember, the next time you get pennies and change, you might just be holding a fortune. So check those coins carefully, stay educated, stay persistent, and happy hunting!